Another victim born. Welfare takes the tail, and daddy can't sign, and it can't be seen. The family becomes a crime. The hunt is on, and brother, you're the prey. Serving time in jail, it just ain't the way. I'm living so hard, babe, that my hair's gray. We got to make a change. It's a brand new day. A new world order, a brand new day. It's a new day. Change of mind for the human race. It's a new world order, a brand new day. It's a change of mind for the human race. Operation in flux, and it's on the way. We just marched 1 million plus the other day. Look, we all witnessed the sweat rolling down Miss Liberty's head. She knows the sleeping giant's no longer sleeping dead. Oh, what a fulfillment of prophecy. Let us teach the children freedom's never been free. It's okay to cry, go ahead and cry. 'Cause tears is wet, but hope and faith be kept. It's a new day. World order, a brand new day. It's a change of mind for the human race. It's a new world order, a brand new day. It's a change of mind for the human race. The die has been cast, and there's no need to fear. 'Cause people, the answer to your prayers are here. Sister Mary, don't you weep. Tell mother not to moan. We need the love, and that is coming home. There's no need to worry. The times dictate a plan. Mother Earth's giving birth to a brand new man. Sister, I know you're misunderstood, but hold on to your man. 'Cause the future looks good. It's a new day. A new world order, a brand new day. It's a change of mind for the human race. A new world order, a brand new day. It's a change of mind for the human race. Beware of the lies and false prophecy. We are many with eyes, but don't all really see. You must be merciful, my friend, to obtain the same. So if you break the chain, don't pass the blame. We should say unto all, and I'll say it again, it's not just to win. Shake a hand, make a friend. We who are pure at heart somehow might see there's still light in the world. Come rejoice with me. It's a new day. A new world order, a brand new day. It's a change of mind for the human race. It's a new world order, a brand new day. A change of mind for the human race. It's a new day, a new day. 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 It's a new day, a new day.
Yeah, no, it's a brand new day. Express yourself.
Express yourself. You don't never need help from nobody else. All you got to do now, express yourself. Whatever you do, do it good. Whatever you do, Lord, Lord. Do it good. Oh yeah. It's not what you look like when you're doing what you're doing. It's what you're doing when you're doing what you look like you're doing. Express yourself. Express yourself. You're doing it on the moon, y'all. In the jungle too. Everybody on the floor now. Jumping like a kangaroo. So let the horn do the thing they do, y'all. Some people have everything and other people don't. But everything don't mean a thing if it ain't the thing you want. Express yourself. Express yourself. Oh, do it. Oh, do it. Do it, do it. Go on and do it. Y'all do it. Get it. Express yourself. Express yourself. Do the do 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 do
All right. On behalf of Grown Folks Talking, Express Yourself, I'd like to invite you to the podcast, Knowledge is the New Power. I thank each and every one of you for coming out this Sunday afternoon. Appreciate it that you decided to spend some time with me and Coach T. We're going to talk about a very deep subject. A subject that's very dear to me, and a subject, unfortunately, most of us are still wrestling with. And that's the subject of our identity as melanated people, and how that identity has been blocked or has been kept from us. And the reason why that identity has been kept from us. You know, this is a very soft topic because of the nature of the topic itself. What I mean by that is a lot of us were taught different information in regards to who we are. So this subject brings a lot of different schools of knowledge base. And what I'm doing today is to present you a common denominator of all the different schools of thoughts that may have you believing that you are this and that you are that. And understanding that there's a reason why you were taught what you were taught. So we must be honest with ourselves as to the information that we're holding on to. You must ask yourself, is this information still relevant to our condition as a collective people? Or is it hindering us from moving forward as a people? And you must understand, brothers and sisters, I'm talking about, for the most part, our mental condition, our logical condition. Because if a people get you to think that you're something that you're not, that's psychological, brothers. That's mental. And if you continue to keep that thought in your mind, not realizing that it's the very thought that you're keeping in your mind that's holding you back, that's definitely mental. That's definitely psychological. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with mind control techniques. You know, there are strategies that are geared to control our mind and how we have been subject to that from the very beginning because of who we are. And understanding that if we will ever collectively understand who our ancestors are and who we are by being the descendants of those ancestors, then those who control the educational system, those who control the political systems currently, those who control the social systems currently, will be able to continue to control those systems, which will lead to us continuing to be controlled. That's what it's all about, brothers and sisters. Control. It's always been about control. The ability to control a people without guns, weapons, any of that sort. To be able to control the people strictly by mind control. And this is what we're talking about. So it's a very sensitive subject because everybody wants to believe that they're in control of their thoughts. But unfortunately, brothers and sisters, that's not the case. And the more you think that you are, the more deeper that mind control has you. So yes, this is a very sensitive subject. And as the brother was singing the song, let's express ourselves. Let's get it out of our system. This is not a judgment zone here. This is a healing zone. We must deal with the psychological factors that's currently keeping us from expressing our true identity as melanated people. We are under a spell. We are under a way of life that was created to keep us from being who God created us to be. We must stop being in denial of that fact. We must stop doing everything and anything that prevents us from being who we are. We must stop being busy doing this and doing that, which has very little to do with finally becoming free, finally becoming self-determined people as our ancestors were. But before I continue, let me give out the disclaimer that me and Coach T gives out every Sunday. And that is simply this. Me and Coach T are not financial planners, tax preparers, politicians, any of those type of disciplines. What we are brothers who know the importance of getting involved in those particular disciplines, those particular subjects, to finally move us forward as a people. And we bring this knowledge to you guys each and every Sunday. And we bring it with love, because I know that this is a very sensitive subject for most of us, because most of us want to believe that what we think, what we believe in is the right thing to think, and it's the right thing to believe in. But if you allow yourself to get involved in further investigation, to get involved in knowledge that was purposely kept from you so that you would continue to think the way that you're thinking, then perhaps you, like me and others who have done so, can understand why I am so passionate about changing our current course based on the new knowledge, new to us, not new in the knowledge sense. Because as you will find out, that this knowledge been around for some time now. But unfortunately, the power structure has successfully kept this knowledge from us up until most recently. That there has been a major breakthrough in the knowledge base of our people. And what you'll be seeing already and also continue to see in the future the results of this new knowledge base that we have unfolded. And it's a beautiful thing to be involved in. Because what you're going to see, if you haven't seen it already, is a separation between those who know and understand this new knowledge base and are actively involved in making this new knowledge base a reality, versus those who, for whatever reason, and I say mostly it's psychological, it's mostly mental, they can't let go of the old knowledge base that was given to them, for the most part, from the very people who created this matrix to keep us from finding out our true identity in the first place. You have to ask yourself, brothers and sisters, that we were born
We no longer hear you, Thomas.
You can no longer hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Most of us, okay?
Can you can no longer hear me?
Well, I can hear you, Brother Bates. I don't know about others.
I can hear you.
Okay, great, because I'm not muted or anything, so, but yeah, we have to understand what all of us were born into, the type of society that we were born into, including myself. You know, I was subject to this type of society that didn't tell the truth about some of its people. And I was able to go through what I was able to go through with a lot of effort, I might add, to find out exactly, eventually, because it took a lot of time, because I had to go through a lot of layers of deception. But I was able to do it. And from there, it enabled me to understand why, collectively, we are in the condition that we're in today. And it also made me understand why so many of us are going in different directions, and why it's so challenging to get most of us to go in the right direction, because of how we were conditioned to believe in this, to believe in that, not knowing that there was a reason for you to go in the direction that you're going in. And so, the insightful thing to understand is that I can't make you come to a conclusion. You have to come to your own conclusion based on what knowledge you allow yourself to study. You see, because my conclusion is based on the different knowledges I was able to study, and was able to see how I could eliminate this and I could eliminate that because of how, if I kept on hanging on to it, it would have continued to lead me astray. And so this is the challenge that each and every one of us must be able to meet that challenge. Because if we don't, then what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. You see, something was done to us, brothers and sisters, that made us think the way that we're thinking now, that made us dependent upon another people, that made us not even think about being able to govern ourselves, not being able to be truly self-determined people like our ancestors were. Something happened to us, brothers and sisters, that stunted our growth as a people, that causing us to wait for some type of Messiah, causing us to wait on somebody to save us when we have the ability to save our own selves collectively. This is what we must understand. That was a planned way. That was a strategy that was used on us successfully to get us to be in the condition that we're in today. You know, it don't take a lifetime to undo the strategies that was done to us if we truly are competent enough and psychologically sound enough to do so. But at any point in the engagement that you fall prey, either intellectually or mentally, then you will never get to be who you were really meant to be. Because those individuals who have created a society that causes you to act the way that you act, which is contrary to who you really are, has won. When you think this is more important than that, when what you are currently doing right now, if it has nothing to do with your independence as a people, if you are satisfied with being colonized, because that's what we are, brothers and sisters. We are a colonized people. And we have never done what it took to decolonize ourselves. Yeah, we've been busy. They had us busy doing this and doing that, always knowing that it had very little to do what they did that caused us to be we are today. That's the reality, brothers and sisters. And I'm here tonight to have a venue that is geared towards expressing ourselves. Because this is a topic that a lot of us might feel uncomfortable talking about. Because we want to believe that what we're doing makes a difference. We want to believe that what we're doing has meaning. And for the most part, it does. But you have to ask yourself, if you put it into a category, if you put it into if you prioritize, like I have done, you see, I prioritize my activities. And the number one priority that I put upon myself is the ability to find out why, as melanated people, we are still in the condition that we are in today. Why is that the case? See, I can't get caught up into too many other things without first finding out why. Why are we still a dependent people, knowing that we were the first people to bring civilization to the world? Can you compare us to our ancestors and how much we have changed from our ancestors? And then the reason why we have changed? That's why I can't get caught up in too many things until I found out that the answer to that question. I have found out the answer to that question. I can't get involved in too many other activities until that activity has been eradicated. You see, why are we still a dependent people when we were the first people on this planet Earth? How can the parents of civilization been taught by our children? How can the parents be controlled by the children? Because we, if you didn't know it, are the parents of civilization. That's who we are. We can't change that. No matter how much they have tried to psychologically condition us to think different. But that's a fact, brothers and sisters. Who we are will never change, no matter how they may change us psychologically. And so these are the questions that have stuck with me as a child. And that's why I have done what I have done. And it took only recently, after all those years, of finally reaching people who felt the same way that I felt. And we connected with information that explained all those feelings that we were experiencing in all those years. And no one, up until recently, had the answers. No one. And I've been through a lot of different organizations, brothers and sisters, a lot of different spiritual systems, and no one had the answers until recently. And that was by design, brothers and sisters. Because the information that I'm talking about will change the world when we embrace it. And a lot of people don't want that to happen. A lot of people are in power because of us as the indigenous peoples of the world are not in power. They took us out of power, brothers and sisters. That's what they did. And they will continue to do that if you do not expose yourself to this information. That's by design. And this is what we must understand, what all of us were born into. But again, as I said earlier, I can't force you to seek this information. This is strictly volunteer information. You must want to know who you are. You must want to know why conditions are the way they are. You must want to be independent, of self-dependent people. You must want to be governed by other people who look like you. You must want this. You must want to regain what was taken from us. Because at any time you feel like, I'm okay with who I am today. I'm okay with being governed by the very people who have colonized you and your ancestors. But you're okay with it. You're psychologically okay with it. You're mentally okay with it. It doesn't upset you to the point where it motivates you to do something about your condition. That's part of the conditioning process. It reminds me, and I don't mean to offend anybody. I say this with much love, brothers and sisters. But it reminds me of a free spirit animal who got caught, captured, and over the years, that animal became domesticated. So much that now, in the beginning, she had to be chained or closed in a corral or what have you. Might be like a wild stallion, free to roam wherever the stallion wanted to roam until it got captured, put in a corral. And eventually that free spirit wild stallion became domesticated. What process took place that changed that free spirit stallion to roam anywhere it wanted to roam, to now be subject to the person that was responsible in domesticating that animal? That reminds me of us as a people, where we once was a free-spirited indigenous people all across the world, brothers and sisters. The whole world was ours. We populated the entire world. And how we allowed ourselves to be reduced to this domesticated people that we are today, who don't even have the desire to govern themselves, want to be governed by the very people who conditioned them to be what they are today. What was the process that took place to change us from who we were to who we are today? And a lot of us, honestly, brothers and sisters, don't even want to think about it. We get caught up in our jobs. We get caught up in our careers. We get caught up in whatever we're caught up in to block the very thing that I'm talking about. Some of us might not. Some of us might feel uncomfortable as I speak, because we want to block that reality out from our minds. But every now and then, such as today, and such as maybe with Israel doing what they're doing to the Palestine, trying to take their land, just as the colonizers took our land here in these parts of the country. But it happened so long that most of us don't have no connection to this land. We bought the story that most of us came over here on the slave trade, you know. Or we bought this notion that the Great Britons, the original Great Britons, colonizers, came over here to be free from Great Britain, started their own state by first declaring their independence. And then they formulated the 13 colonies that eventually turned into the 50 states. And that would be okay if they didn't. That would be okay if what they didn't colonize the indigenous people who were already here. If they were willing to cohabitate with those people, us, who are already here. But no, they wanted to colonize us. They have colonized us and ruled us and took over our land to include all of the natural resources and reduced us to a domesticated people who are dependent on them. That's the reality of it, brothers and sisters. And no amount of denial is going to change that reality. And so the information that I'm talking about is that information that wakes us to that reality. But it not only wakes us to that reality, but it teaches us how to finally govern ourselves so that we can get back what was taken from us legally. But until we develop the mindset to do so, some of us will never experience that. So, yes, it's for everybody, but it ain't for everybody. Because everybody are not able to develop themselves mentally to be able to do the work necessary in order to regain back what was taken from us by the colonizers. Some of us just are not going to be able to do it. Not mentally strong enough. They got you psychologically. You believe too much of the lies that they have told you. You're in too many of their systems, and you believe their systems is legitimate. And those individuals, you know, I feel for them. And I thank God that I'm not them. I thank God that He made me the way that He made me to see through all this trickery and to gravitate to the truth, to the real truth that's going to reestablish who we really are. And I am so glad that I'm with other brothers and sisters who feel and who are doing the same thing. And so this is where we're at, brothers and sisters. We're at a crossroads. You have to make a decision. You can continue to be in denial and live a world that was created for you by your colonizers, or you can embrace this new knowledge based on the laws and the treaties that are needed to get us back to the people that we once were, and to live a life that we were meant to live, and to be the people that we were meant to be, not the people that our colonizers created us to be. And until you realize that, then the life that you're living right now is a lie. And you can continue to keep yourself busy with doing this and with doing that, which has very little to do with changing our condition as the indigenous people of the world. I've been speaking for some time, but as the song says, express yourself. And as the network is, Grown Folks Talking, express yourself. I would now like to give you an opportunity to do just that. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the lines. Okay, brothers and sisters, you have an opportunity. Express yourself. What's on your mind? I said a lot of things. I made a lot of points. A lot of things that I want you guys to think about as you go about your busy day, doing what you do. But you have to ask yourself, is what you're doing, is it going to help us decolonize ourselves? It's almost like America has made it comfortable to remaining a slave. They're comfortable. Yeah, we're no longer in the fields. Yeah, we're no longer, this and that. You know the stories. You know all those stories. I don't have to tell you that. But are we free, sisters? Are we free in our minds? Point that we have confidence in ourselves to be able to rent ourselves. Free-spirited people do. Are we like the Palestine's people to create their own state, get from underneath Israel? Do we have that type of mindset? Or too many of us still want to be governed by our colonizers called the United States of America? You see, there's all kinds of information that defines our relationship with the United States of America. There's all kinds of information that defines who we are, people, and why we need to be self-determined and be the people that we really are, and not this domesticated people wait on somebody else to free us when we have the means to free. When I say free, talk about govern. We have the means to govern ourselves. We were never supposed to be governed by the United States of America. They were supposed to be co-inhabitants with us. But through their manipulation and their legislation, They legally colonized us. So the question that you got to ask yourself, are you okay with that? And if not, what are you going to do about it? Or are you going to continue to be in denial and go about the business that you're in right now, realizing that you're still a colonized people? Come on, brothers and sisters, talk to me. I'd like to hear your opinion. You see, we got to understand there's a reason why a lot of us are quiet. Because of the fact that we've been so caught up in their world. We don't, and I say this in love, brothers and sisters. I say this with much love. But the reality is simply this. We don't know how to think for ourselves, for the most part. Because when have we ever thought for ourselves? We have always been connected to the United States of America. Day one. We have always been governed by the United States of America. And so now we have an opportunity to be governed by the government that was set up by our ancestors, that we literally walked away from. A lot of us, or a lot of our ancestors, didn't know what they did, but in reality, that's what they did. And so you're so used to being governed by the very people who colonized you that by your behavior, by your actions, you have nothing to say about it. Why is that, brothers and sisters? Is this information too, I don't know, is it too hard-hitting to respond to it? You know,
Brother Bay,
is it so, yes.
Yo, Brother Bay.
Yes,
Hey,
yes.
How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm really good. I wasn't scared to talk. No, in all honesty, I really appreciate you. I had so much background noise on the highway I was on, so I didn't want to be interrupted. But I really appreciate what it is that the movement is doing, whether we all follow or not. I appreciate it. And literally every day, at least once a week, I didn't want to exaggerate, at least once a week, I meet people who are becoming more and more aware of their rights and the colonization. I think I should look that up because no matter, in my head when I hear you say it, yes, colonized by, I guess, the Europeans to think and live their way, but under any government, it will probably be some level of colonization as well. But I had a gentleman Friday, see, my days are blending, on Friday, and he said he's leaning toward that, really. He hasn't filed his taxes, he said, in, I think he said about 14 years. But he is working. They are withholding. So, of course, as a tax preparer, I said, have they sent you any letters? And he said, no. I said, then they owe you money. Go get your money, brother, right? So there's that level of education of separating yourself and elevating yourself, your consciousness, and your physical behavior. But it's not about man. And I'm going to speak personally. For me, it's not about man. Nor is it about land. It's about your mind. Speaking for myself, brother. It's about my spirit. And where we're born, for me, is just a geographical technicality. We belong to the earth, the complete earth, as humans. And as you speak about civil rights and human rights, everyone deserves to be treated fairly and equitably, not only by others, but by each other. So I appreciate what you're doing. I almost feel, no offense to anyone, that it's almost like religions. You know, there's so many religions and beliefs, and it's what resonates with you. Because we're bigger than what we look like. We are electricity. That thing we have in common, Brother Bay. We are electricity. We are technology. Our brains are technology. What we look like, our skin color, we are bigger than what we see. We're energy, and we have flesh and features. And again, where you're born happens to be where labor is. So, for me, I'll speak personally, it's about living my purpose and doing the things I'm supposed to do. I've never been a follower, even though my email is Team Follow Me, but that's because I love the song Follow Me. I've never been a follower of really anything that didn't resonate with my spirit. You know when you're doing something wrong, and you know when you're doing something right. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not saying, what you're saying or doing is right or wrong, but it's about the individual. That's why when it comes to racism, for me, I can't be a racist. I can't fall into I don't like white people, I don't like black people. That's irrelevant to me. Because people are people, and they're going to be their best and do their best based on who they are and what they know. But you're sharing education, so go back to that knowledge is power. What you know and then what resonates with you really has to be a personal choice. And my opinion, if we think on a human level and behave on a human level, you're not really going to let people disrespect you. You're not going to let people disrespect you. And when the nation is completely built, united, the Moors, it won't mean that people won't still attempt to disrespect you. And yes, you'll know you're right, but that's like an order of protection. It gets buried with some people. But I love the knowledge that you're sharing, and, I hope that whoever it resonates with takes hold and move forward and grow within. That's what it's all about, personal growth within. I thank you. I'm going to get noisy now, so thank you, and happy Sunday.
I appreciate you, sis. And, you speak about resonating frequency. This is what I'm talking about. And we all don't live in an island. The world is made up of nations, of states. And those of us who understand the power of coming together as a state to protect our individual rights will understand the importance of what we're doing. You see, they took us out of our nationality, took us out of who we are as a people into their state. See, we had our own government. So it ain't about us starting something new. It's about us recognizing what we already had and to reestablish that. That's what it's all about. And see, it's about obtaining that knowledge that gets you to understand that. Because the knowledge that most of us are acting on is knowledge, to the most part, was given to us by their system for the purpose of us to think the way that we're thinking right now. And you know, you spoke about spiritual, and it's okay to be spiritual. But you see, if you're so spiritual, and I'm speaking about you, sister, personally, but people get caught up in being so spiritual, well then how come you can't figure out something less than being spiritual? Can't figure out the mundaneness of this world. You see, that's what we must understand. It's okay to be spiritual, having the spiritual principles and so forth. But if those spiritual principles are not able to enable you to figure out why you're not free here in this world, why someone is governing you, why you don't know your true identity, you got to ask yourself. You got to ask yourself. And so, you know, again, this topic is very controversial because of how we as a people have been educated with so many different thoughts. And out of all those different thoughts, none of them gave us the road to our independence as melanated people. You got to ask yourself that. And also you got to ask yourself, why all these organizations, why haven't they, and this is rhetorical, it's a rhetorical question, why haven't they uncovered this information that will enable us to govern ourselves, that will enable us to protect ourselves from other states who may impose themselves on us, that we have a way, an international way of protecting ourselves from other states like the United States of America, where currently they, since we are in their jurisdiction, they are free to literally kill us as they continue to do. And because we're in their jurisdiction, it becomes a domestic situation, not a international situation. You must educate yourselves on that reality, you see. And so, yes, again, it's about competency. Either you know or you don't. Either you know about the treaties that protects us as the indigenous people. Either you know the international laws that protects us as indigenous people. Either you know the other 193 states who took an oath to support self-determining, to support the indigenous people who want to now be governed by themselves as opposed to continue to be governed by the colonizers. That's the level of consciousness we're at. It's not about you as an individual. It's about us as a collective. And politically, us as a collective equates to statehood. That's what that equates to, statehood. And so it's very interesting times, brothers and sisters, because we are being elevated to a level of awareness that's going to enable us to really find out who we really are as a people, in spite of all the other distractions that we are currently doing right now. You see, what is the price that you're willing to pay to be truly free? What is the price that you're willing to pay to find out how to govern ourselves amongst other states who are governing themselves? To be part of the conversation that other states around the world are a part of. We, here in this country, are not part of the international conversation that the international community is having about human rights, because we can't get beyond the legislative civil rights of the United States of America. We can't get past their jurisdiction because we're not willing to elevate ourselves to that level that will allow us to do so. See, they no longer have the power to keep us from that level of consciousness. The only reason why it appears that they have that power now is because we give them that power. But thank God some of us have become competent enough through study, not through fellowship, but through scholarship, that we study how to become truly free in this world and to be recognized as any other state in this world is recognized, and to not be, how can I say this, and for any other state to infringe upon our rights as a state. This is what I'm talking about. This is what we as a people prayed for. This is what we as a people inadvertently were trying to get through civil rights. But again, as we became more competent, we knew that we would never be free by going the civil rights route, because that would be always tied to their legislative branch of government. We had to be independent of them. To think otherwise would keep us in the political status that we're in today. Whereas we're not a people. We're people who are still organized people in this political system under the United States of America. It was created to be that way. And if you haven't studied this system that you're being governed by, then you really don't understand, and you won't understand what I'm talking about. And so that's why I said early on is that there's going to be a separation between those who know and those who don't know. And those who know are going to know how to become free through statehood, through being able to govern ourselves, versus those who are going to remain in the dependency of the colonizers because of not having that knowledge to do something to get out of the condition that they find themselves in today. And some of us, psychologically, have allowed themselves to be okay with that. Although, you know, through the news, how they're still treating us and how they will continue to treat us until we become conscious of what it's going to take to get out of that reality. And that's where we're at, brothers and sisters. We're at that reality. And I'm speaking to those people who want to act on that reality of self-government, who want to hold the United States of America accountable for all of the atrocities that they have done to us, who want to stop all the excuses that the United States of America has made when it came to us, and us being treated like the other citizens of the United States. We don't need the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. We're human beings just like everybody else. Why we have to have, if we were true citizens, and why did they make some amendment for our exceptions? Like we're not human beings? If the United States of America Constitution speaks to human beings, then it speaks to us. We should need no amendments. We should need no special civil rights. We're human just like everybody else. So if you treat human beings across the board fairly, then there would be no extra legislation geared to us like we're not humans. This is what I'm talking about, brothers and sisters. And that's the type of system that they set up. And unfortunately, too many of us are caught up in, through our behavior, agree with that system. But thank God there are many of us who don't. And that's what you're witnessing here and abroad, people exercising their rights as human beings to be treated as human beings, to the point that we are confident enough and we are competent enough to govern ourselves. We don't need to be governed by the United States of America. Matter of fact, they're not psychologically or mentally capable of governing us as Moors. They're not. But the question that you have to ask yourself, are you competent enough and psychologically enough to govern yourselves? That's the question. I already answered that question and say, yes, I am. And I'm with other people who have answered that question. Yes, we have the confidence, we have the competency, and we have the mental capacity and psychological desire to do so. And we're going to show those who think that we can't, we're going to show them that we do. And that's what it's about. So, you know, I understand why some people are on the fence. You've been conditioned to be on the fence for decades, for centuries. You've been conditioned, as I mentioned earlier, and I emphatically say this with love, not with hate and not out of frustration. But as I said earlier, a lot of us have been domesticated, just like you domesticate an animal to be in the behavior that we're in now, that you don't have to threaten us no more. You don't have to kill us. You don't have to do what they did to get us in this condition anymore. We're in this condition on our own. It's like with any other animal that's been domesticated. You know, it's going to stay in its place. It's been trained to do so. Well, again, I'm saying this as an example, and I'm saying this out of love, my brothers and sisters. We have been, most of us have been domesticated, and that's why we act the way that we act. But there's a lot of us who have gotten out of that domestication and have tasted freedom by scholarship and not followership, based on the knowledge that's available to us. And by reading this knowledge, it makes us more competent into being who we are, into governing ourselves. And it's a beautiful experience. But it's an experience that you have to experience. I can talk about it, I can describe it, but just like everything else, you know, you could talk about your favorite ice cream, but until you go to the store and purchase that ice cream and eat it yourself, you know, you'll never really experience it for yourself. And that's what freedom's about. Yeah, I could talk about how I felt when I first read the Declaration of Independence, how proud I was when I signed that document. You know, I could tell you all that. I could tell you how proud I was when we created our own constitution, formulated our own state. You know, it was a great feeling. You know, when we wrote to the United Nations and we wrote to the president of this, the president of the United States of America, you know, indicating, you know, that we're back and that we no longer needed to be governed by you. We're confident enough to govern ourselves based on who we are, based on our bloodline. See, they know this. That's the reason why they did what they did to us, so that we would never have this type of conversation. But the fact that we're having this conversation, they know that we are becoming a competent people again, competent enough to govern ourselves. And that's what they never wanted to happen. Because once we show competency in ourselves, they have to give up what they took because of our incompetency. That's what it's about, brothers and sisters. And so, yes, it's a new day order. You know, it's time for us to learn and to unlearn. It's time for us to not be so busy doing what we've been doing and neglecting what we need to do in order to become free again. Free-spirited, free-thinking, independent, governed by those who look like you, who have your background, who have your history, who have your bloodline, who were the first people to civilize this entire world. This is what we're reestablishing. This is what we're doing as a people. And so, yes, it is definitely different than a lot of us are thinking today, because too many of us are still thinking the way the colonizers wants us to continue to think. But again, thank God that there's people like myself and others who are reestablishing ourselves as to who we truly are. And I know a lot of people are waiting on us, you know, to do what we're going to be doing. And that's okay, you know. But there are people who, like myself, who want to do the work needed to do what needs to be done. And I speak to those people who have the energy, who have the psychological ability, the mental awareness, the consciousness, but they just didn't have the knowledge. Those are the people that I'm speaking to. Those are the people who my voice goes out to, and others like myself, who says that yes, we finally have the knowledge to reestablish ourselves, to be the people again that God created us to be. And you can get with us so that we can get with you to make it happen. And that's where we're at, brothers and sisters. I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. You know, what am I doing? I'm motivating us. encouraging us, expressing to us what's out there that we are doing each and every day to change the world. That's what I'm doing, and that's what those who I'm working with are doing. And we're growing. We're growing. And I can tell you about it, but as we grow and become stronger and stronger, eventually it'll be known outside of this podcast and outside of the individual channels that our group belong to. Eventually it's going to be in mainstream. Eventually you're going to hear about us on TV, because we're going to be reestablishing what needs to be reestablished. Right now, the powers to be know that they can't stop us, so they're not going to give us any kind of radio play, television play, or anything like that until they absolutely have to. So you might say we're the best kept secret of the world, but the world knows what we're doing, and the world knows that they can't stop us because we're correcting finally the wrong that's been committed not only to us as indigenous people in these necks of the woods, but the indigenous people all around the world. You might say that the indigenous people, even the ones who have already created their states like Africa and other parts of the world, but they're still catching hell because they're talking about neo-colonialism. Look that up. Neo-colonialism. But we're going to teach the world that we're here to correct the order of things. You might say that's the reason why we're probably one of the last indigenous people to finally decolonize ourselves. Because you save the best for last. We're the most strongest indigenous people in the world, even though we're still, for the most part, colonized. But you're witnessing the beginning of that sleeping giant being awoke to decolonization and the power behind that. You're just witnessing this by the very conversation that we're having now. Last year, we didn't have these type of conversations, but we're having them this year. And these conversations are increasing, and the participation is increasing, and the statehood is increasing. So eventually, we'll get back all of our 50 states. And you'll be hearing about the class action suit that we're filing against the United States of America for all of the crimes against humanity, that they have committed under their system. You can't just kill us for a minor traffic violation. You know that ain't gonna hold water for the nationals. It may hold water for those who choose to still be colonized, but those of us who choose to become nationals of our own state government, there's a price that the United States of America is going to pay if they do that to the nationals who are governing themselves. You see. And so this again is where we're at as a people. And some of us are actively involved in making this a reality. Diplomatic immunity is a reality, people. And it is to be respected, just like they respect it in other states. They will have to respect it in our respective states also. It's no difference. But again, they never thought that we would have the competency needed in order to make that a reality. They never thought that we would have the confidence in ourselves and in each other. So they always thought that, we would never come together as a people to even form a state. Because as you know, and this is what I was conveying to Sister Evadne when she was saying how she was as an individual, spiritual and so forth, and that's okay, but the real power is us collectively coming together. That's the real power. The real power is knowing that to form a state will enable the state to protect its individuals who are part of that state. See, if you are riding solo, who's protecting you? No one. But as individuals come together, form their prospective states, it's the state and its power that protects its individuals that's in that state. See, that's what the United States of America is supposed to do for us as melanated people. But let me ask you something. How's that been working for us, brothers and sisters? How that's been working for us? How good a job have they done protecting us? If you think they have done a good job, then you remain in their jurisdiction. I and others, based on knowledge, based on their record, they have done a lousy job in protecting us as indigenous people. Matter of fact, they took our land, they took our resources, and they colonized us. That's what they did. And that's why we're claiming our independence again as indigenous peoples of the land. That's why we do what we do, brothers and sisters. And those of us who are sick and tired of being sick and tired of all the atrocities that they have done since they established the United States of America by declaring their independence in 1776. We're doing something about it. And that's what this is all about. Not just talking about it, but being about it. And the sad part about it, brothers and sisters, the United Nations was started for the main purpose of decolonizing the world. That was back in 1945. And before that, you had the League of Nations. How come in the past couple of years, we as a people are just starting to understand this knowledge? You know, again, how come as a people, and the United Nations been in New York City 1945? How come we just started to even know what the United Nations mission, why they were created in the first place? To stop the very thing that we are still in, which is colonization. Can you understand what it took to keep us in the dark like that? The collaboration that had to be made with other organizations by people who look like us? Because I'm not naive to think that all of our organizations didn't know. I'm not that naive. But I do know that we have a history of people who look like me and you, who have sold us out and continue to sell us out. I do know that. And those individuals, when it's all over with, those individuals and organizations, when it's all over with, will be exposed for the people who they really are, and the organizations that they really are, when this thing is over with. But we got a couple more minutes. Again, I want to open it up to the floor for any lasting comments that you might have. It's your time, brothers and sisters. Speak to me if you like. Well, I guess this information, yes, it's powerful, brothers and sisters. It's very powerful. It is meant to be, because we're talking about change. We're talking about finally becoming the people that we are meant to be, and finally overcoming all the obstacles and deceptions and manipulations that people who don't look like us and people who look like us have done to us. We're finally able to go through all that in order to make the necessary changes that will be made. And so again, brothers and sisters, I appreciate you spending some time this Sunday afternoon, me having the ability to express myself on some of the knowledge that needed to be expressed, that you would know that there are people like myself who are working towards our self-government, our self-determination as indigenous melanated people. That it's time for the world to see what we can do for ourselves, so that the world could see the rising of the Moors, that we're back, and that we're as competent as ever. And you'll know it by how we are going to be governing ourselves in alliance with all the other 193 states around the world. We're going to be making alliances with those who are truly decolonizing the world, not those like the United States of America and Israel and France, who want to continue to colonize the world, and Great Britain and many other, unfortunately, European states who just want to rule and want to disenfranchise the indigenous people of the world. And we, as indigenous people, are not going to tolerate it no longer. We're rising up and being recognized as a people that we truly are. I'd like to take this time to say that immediately following me is Positive Impact by Sister Deborah, and then immediately following her podcast is Brother Abdul, the Health Man. And every morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have prayer line. So I encourage each and every one of you to spend some time with those individuals. And I look forward to spending more time with you next week. Again, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I thank you.
Thank you to Sister Nabiha. I would like to say thank you again for the reminders. The show was very powerful, and we just send you back love. Much love. Thank you.
Appreciate this. And I look forward to spending time with every one of you next week. I hope that your week is all that you make it to be, and be blessed. Thank you.